Hello, today I would like to talk about my power rankings for the LJL 2020 summer split. Obviously, these power rankings aren't set in stone because of the COVID-19 corona issue. A lot of teams don't have their starting lineup with their imports. So a lot of these lineups will change or have changed by the time I upload this video or by the time you see this video. So this is just my general power rankings right now. As you can see here, up above me, we have the 1 through 8 of the teams. Now these teams can change at any time, and obviously, like, if they get the proper players, the power might go up, it might go down. But as of right now, I have to say that this is what I feel at the current moment. So obviously, I feel like Detonation should be at number 1 still. There's nothing right now that should show otherwise. They're still very strong. Sengoku, I still think, has a strong lineup. If any team is to defeat DFM, it should be Sengoku. B3, I think, has really strong core. They still are able to keep all their players. And then after that, it starts to get weak with, I think, the highest potential, maybe if something goes right, I think SoftBank's Hawks Gaming can do well. But enough about that. Let's look at all the teams, and I will go step by step of why I think these teams are good, and you can learn a little bit about each team. So starting off, we'll have Detonation Focus Me. So no roster changes. They are the previous champion from Spring Split 2020. They've also won 2019 Spring and Summer. So they are a very strong competitive team. So there's very little reason to believe that this team will fall off. I don't think this team is flawless. I think they have a lot of flaws, but in the LGL, they are currently untouched. They have a really strong top laner. They have really strong bot and support. Their mid laner is able to withstand a lot of attacks, and they're able to push through and defeat most of the opponents with little to no problems. I think this is the least interesting team to talk about because everyone's going to predict them first, because there's no reason not to predict them first. Sengoku, same roster. The reason why I think Sengoku will not win is because I believe their top laner still has issues, and even though their mid and jungle are supposed to be very strong, they are not able to defeat Seros and Steel, which I believe might be one of the weaker mid jungle duos in the LGL. In terms of like top, if we had to go top 3, they would probably be third. But the Seros and Steel mid jungle duo. But when you import Period and Blank, you expect them to be the best. You expect them to be number 1. But the fact that they aren't able to do that is very troubling. And when you watch the summer's finals, you saw a lot of draft issues. I do not know if these will be fixed. But if they don't fix these issues and team identity, like team strength issues, I feel like this team will just be second place. So third on my list, we have V3. The third team that did not have any roster changes. So again, 3 players that are really good, I believe, are their native resident players. I think Paz is a top 2 top laner. I think Ace, in terms of Japanese players, is first or second place in terms of Japanese. Reina, I believe, is the best Japanese support. So keyword is Japanese. There's not many Japanese players that are better than their import competitors. There are a few that you can argue that are top tier, but it's always important to have the key distinction between resident and import in terms of strengths. So Paz, Ace, Reina are very good, and Archer, who is a rookie ADC, as far as I know, he has no competitive history. He has done very well on his first split in a professional environment, I would say. And Boogie has been around a bunch of teams. You might remember him from the Flash Wolves team that went to MSI in 2019. That roster, now he's back, or I guess he's back in Japan because he was on the Challenger team until then in Japan. So yeah, he's been around. He's still very good at like hyper carry mechanical junglers. So this is a team that has the potential to pop off, but I still don't feel it's not enough. Because if I said who's better, Paz or Evi, when you compare them to DFM, I would probably say Evi is better. If I had to say Ace or Seros, that one's more 50-50, but I would give it to Seros because of his like his longevity in the mid lane. Rhina or Gang, I would say it's very hard if you compare Archer and Rhina compared to Yuta opponent Gang. I'd probably say Yuta opponent Gang are better than Archer and Rhina. And Boogie might be better than Steel, but when you only have one player that's better, and it's not like he's like miles ahead. Boogie is a better jungler, but it's not like he's going to destroy Steel. Steel won't get like destroyed in the jungle. Now onto our fourth place team, we have Crest Gaming Act. So the only player that they changed is they got rid of Yoshi, who's now on the bench, and they brought in Unica. So Yoshi played his first ever split in spring season. He did not do well. He had a lot of issues, a lot of underperformances, you can say, or just not performing at all, because we don't know what his peak is. It was his first ever competitive split, so you can't really judge. It's really hard to judge like a Japanese jungler because there aren't that many. There are only 2 Japanese junglers, and that's Hachamecha and Yoshi. Now Hachamecha and Unica. So there aren't that many junglers to compare him to. Yoshi I had ranked as the 8th place 80 jungler in the LJL. And now that Unica's here, I don't believe that will change too much. But even with Yoshi being not performing at his best, they're still able to get pretty like high in terms of like rankings. They're able to like push through. They got 6th place in the regular season, which is pretty low. But after that, they're able to get, I guess technically 4th place. They're able to get 4th place in the playoffs, which is still like very good, because I believe their other members are very important. So they still get to keep Nap, Arya, and Gango. These 3 players are very good. Nap is a very good Japanese top laner. Arya is probably the best mid laner. And Gango has potential to be very good, even though he is famous for being a Draven one-trick. He can play other AD carries, but they are not like top tier. And when you have a Draven one-trick in a professional scene, it's very hard for Draven to be picked that often. So it doesn't draw too many bans, and it doesn't really like gain them a lot of like power, because it is Draven after all in the current meta. Maybe if Draven was more powerful, it would make more sense to like have that kind of strength, but at the current moment, it's not really that big of a difference. So if I were you to watch this team, I'd keep an eye on Arya and Nap, and I would see if Unica is able to play around these 2 solo laners. If they're able to do that, I believe they can be the best in their can help them become a top tier contending team. Now, the other team that I want to talk about is I'm not very too happy because they had issues last season, is the SoftBank's Hawks. So they finished 8th place last season, and that is like really bad, and it's not really anything that you can be proud of or like kind of take away. So basically, this team finished 8th, and now they're making a role swap. I predicted them to be 5th place. So it's not that big of a jump, because I believe that their main issues weren't the players, but the identity and the playstyle of this team. They changed Dasher, who was a mid laner. He debuted in the LGL as a mid laner, and they role swapped him top. Now they're role swapping him mid. Ramune is now on the bench, and they now have technically I would call him a rookie top laner. He did play 1 season in the top lane under Unsold Stuff Gaming, but 1 season isn't really that much to say, oh yeah, he's like experienced player. So this team has a lot of issues. I made another video about that in Japanese if you want to go check that out, about all the issues SoftBank Hawks has. Aramik I don't think will be that great of a top laner. I think he can be middle tier to closer to the bottom tier if he performs at his best, but that's at his best. The reason why I don't put them any higher is because last season they had a lot of trouble making Dasher play split pushing top laners, not knowing what to do. They would get early game leads, but then not be able to translate that to anything else. They wouldn't be able to take towers, take objectives, or do anything. They completely ignored their bot laner, Honey and Pooh, who are both rookie players. And even though Tussle never went bot, or rarely went bot, they were able to do pretty well. I predicted them, or I ranked them as a bot lane. I said they would be like about 4th. Like Honey was the 4th place AD carry, and Pooh was like a 4th place-ish support, so middle of the pack. Considering they're both rookies and they had very little to no support, I consider that very amazing. So this team, I had very high hopes for. I think they can still be a very good team. I think Dasher, when he first played in the LGL as a mid laner, was probably the best by far. He was solo carrying games on Unsold Stuff Gaming. He was very strong. There wasn't, if you gave him the right champions and if he was able to stall off to mid to late game, like on Vladimir or Kassadin, or like so one of those late game champions, he was able to take over the whole game. So that's why I put him at 5th, but I still have faith that they can get a little bit higher. Next, let's talk about Rascal Jesters. So Rascal Jesters is a team that I believe is having visa issues because Vivid is technically Korean, even though he counts as a Japanese resident, and Ninja is also Korean. So they kept everyone else, but now there's a new player, rookie player called Pink in the mid lane, who I know little to nothing about. He did play in the Scouting Grounds, I believe, and Nagi, who's also a rookie support. So you have rookie players coming in, and if this does not get fixed, or if they perform what I would believe a rookie player would perform at, I think they won't do well. So that is why I predicted them 6. The reason why I predicted them higher than the other 2 teams who are also having visa issues is because I believe Cog, Hachamecha, and Art are a solid core. You should be able to win against the other 2 teams at their current state. I think Art is a phenomenal ADC, and playing with the support could be problematic, so they could get lower placed because historically Cog and Hachamecha aren't hyper carry type players. Hachamecha has done his best playing around his solo laners, and now that Art is their star carry and he is paired up with a rookie support, there could be a lot of issues. Before, he was paired up with a Korean support, and they did fairly well. The only thing I like about this change is hopefully Pink can show up and do well, because I think he deserves a better chance than Ninja. I think Ninja was the worst mid laner from Spring Split, so I do not want to see him continue playing. I don't think there's any point. I'd rather give Pink a chance. Even though I'm pretty down on this team, it is very nice to see a lot of new faces appear. So yeah, if this team ever does pop off, it has to be through Art, unless if Pink steps up. But I don't know too much about him because he is kind of an unknown figure. Okay, now let's talk about Burning Core. So Burning Core, Roki, who is a very veteran mid laner, has recently retired, and they had to go find a new mid laner. I don't think they found any mid laners. They did say they were trying out on like a Twitter post. I don't know if they actually did try anyone, but they went up with their sub mid laner, who was a sub for Sengoku Gaming, who was on Scouting Grounds, and now he's the starting player for Burning Core. The reason why I have this team at 7th is I don't think this team has like a really good identity. Last season they struggled with their players. They couldn't find too many wins. I believe I had Yuhi ranked as the worst AD carry in the LGL. I think Ray Farkey once and Roki were like middle, they're pretty good, but it wasn't enough for them to get wins. And now that you have Roki gone and you have Ugio, I believe, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, but him coming in as a rookie isn't like something that inspires hope. It's something that is very worrying. The team had issues last season. If Ugio can't perform well, and it's very unlikely that he will in his first split ever, like pop off and hyper carry, which I don't expect him to. I'm not going to be like hating on Ugio if he makes mistakes. First season, he's in a tough situation replacing Roki. I would not just flame him, but I don't have too much hope for this team. I feel like this is kind of like a trying to rebuild kind of a season. And then my last place team, I have Axis. So the reason why I have Axis so low is they lost Hyde, who did pretty well, and now they have Unyan role swapping to ADC, and now they have a new top laner, Natsume. The reason why I don't like this change is because I believe Winyan is a very good top laner. He played 2 years, a year and a half in a top lane situation. He was on Axis last year, and the team did pretty poorly. So it wasn't like he was able to improve a lot. This season, he got 6th place as a team, which I think is very good. But when you have a new player learning top lane, and now he's role swapped to ADC because the Korean ADC is not available to my knowledge, it makes no sense. I don't understand why they would have a top laner who's pretty good, could be better, role swap to a new position, and then get a sub for the top lane instead of keeping Winyan in the top lane and having a new player come in as ADC. I think that would be a much better change. I think that would make the team better, and if Hyde does come back, then the team would be able to be like, okay, well, thank you, sub, for coming in. We're going to bring back Hyde. Everyone, 4 positions are just the same. We can keep going. We can improve. But with this, it's like, okay, well, Winyan now has to learn to work with Corporal, the support player. He has to try to figure out how to play a new position at a competitive level, which is very hard. As we saw, there's a bunch of Korean AD carries and a bunch of really good Japanese players that are AD carries. This will be a very tough season for Inyan. And Natsume is a rookie. I don't have faith that he will be the best, but if he does, this team could get potentially 7th or 6th place, depending on the other teams. So back to the picture. I believe that these 3 are pretty much locked in. You can argue that they might move, like DFM might be 2nd, Sengoku might be 3rd, V3 might be 2nd, you never know. So teams can move into that section, but I doubt that much will happen. I feel like these 3 teams might be stuck in their certain perspective if they keep this roster, right? So this is all just hypothetical if they stay with this roster. I don't believe RJ will get higher than 6 with the current roster. These 3 teams have rookies, so obviously something can happen. They get a really good rookie player who pops off and they win games. But if you had to go by chance, I wouldn't say anything would change. My dark horse prediction is going to be SoftBank Hawks Gaming again. I think this team has a lot of talent, a lot of skill, and with the right mentality and the right direction, this team can be one of the few teams to make top 3. So yeah, this is my predictions as of now, looking at the week 1 rosters. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something about the LJL and some of the players. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.